What's up, everybody? It is Zach, the non-Disney adult. We're back with another episode of Utilidork, and I am joined once again by the Disney adult, Mr. Matt. How's it going,
Hi, everybody.
Matt? Today, so last week we talked about the best time to go, which basically is every time. But one of the big caveats to that was having a plan on where you're going to stay and the cost of said stay. So today we're talking resorts. I think this episode we're going to focus on the resorts at Disney World, both Disney owned and the adjacent ones. And yeah, Matt, you've kind of stayed at all levels of the resort, but maybe we even start with that. Like, how do you decide on the basics, the what is it, the value, moderate, deluxe, and was it deluxe villa?
So it's value, moderate, deluxe, and deluxe villa, correct? And we'll do an episode about off-property resorts. For purposes of this episode, I'm considering the Swan, Dolphin, and Swan Reserve as on property. I understand completely they are owned by Marriott Sheraton. They are on Disney property. They get all the perks of Disney Deluxe resorts. So for purposes of this, we'll consider those Disney Deluxe resorts with a couple caveats.
We'll throw in shades of green as well because I have experience there.
Perfect. So I think this is the single most important decision you make in planning your Disney trip, which there's so many things that flow from what resort you stay at and why. And it helps determine what kind of trip you're going to have. A lot of other decisions need to be made before you decide what resort you're going to stay at, such as, I think, what parks you're going to. If you're a person or a family that's going to be in the park like we are from sunup to 2 in the morning, or if you're a family that needs and wants to take breaks and go back to your resort, then you're going to worry about proximity to parks and transportation and those things. So this is a very important decision. And 2 things right off the bat I think are important to notice here. Find a budget and stick to a budget on your resort. Just like owning a home or renting a home, you don't want to be resort poor. If you put all of your money into staying at the Grand Floridian for 7 days and you have no money to do the other stuff, you're probably not going to have as great a trip as you could. Keep in mind that this decision, I think, is much more important for the parents than it is the kids. At the end of the day, the kids are staying on Disney, at Disney. They're going to have a great hotel room. They're going to have a bed. And they're going to get to go to Disney parks, and they're going to have a pool. That's all the kids care about. Don't let anybody fool you otherwise. That's what the kids care about. This is a much more important decision for the parents or the adults because so many things flow from this. There's different level of advantages to each resort, each level resort. But it really starts with what's your overall plan for the trip. Are you still going for 4 days, doing 4 parks? If that's the case, you don't need to spend a lot on a resort because you're honestly not going to be there much. Are you going for 7 days and doing 2 park days like we did last time? We did a split stay, Dolphin, Old Key West, and actually 1 day at the beach club because we wanted to experience the pools and do those kind of things. So the overall plan for your trip really kind of dovetails into what resort you're going to stay at, or at least the location of the resorts. You've got the monorail resorts, Polynesian Contemporary, Grand Floridian, that some are within walking distance to the Magic Kingdom, all of which are on the monorail loop. Very expensive, huge advantages depending on what you're doing. You've got the resorts around Epcot Hollywood Studios, Beach Club, Yacht Club, Swan Dolphin, Swan Reserve, and the Boardwalk. Both, all of those are within walking distance to Hollywood Studios and Epcot. You've got the Boardwalk Entertainment for the evening. They all, those are all deluxe resorts. They have phenomenal pools, lots to do. We stay at Old Key West for 5 or 6 days because we love the laid-back tropical vibe of that resort. It's got a great pool. It's low stress. It's big. It's spread out. We've fallen in love with the restaurant there. So the biggest thing I think is budgeting and what your trip's going to look at. Then you can kind of dive into what level resort you want to stay at. And then once you get that figured out, what location you want to stay at for those resorts and why.
The other, kind of fundamental reason to look at staying on Disney property is that it comes with perks. At all levels, you get some degree of a perk. Like it could be, just like you said, being adjacent, which I think is huge. People who have ever had to park in some of those lots, I mean, you're parking in a different zip code. They're huge. And you have to take a little tiny train to get to the transportation center, or, buses around that are externally run. It's a pain. Ubering and the minivans and all that other stuff. A lot more work. And so even if you save money outside of that, you may end up spending it on parking and trying to get to and from Disney with a group of people. So, all right, so let's maybe start with the value resorts and why those are not cheap. They are a value, and why sometimes it's, you kind of hear people talking trash about them online, but they actually seem pretty great for what they are.
They are pretty great for what they are. Your value resorts are, your all-star resorts, Pop Century, resorts in those categories. They have the lowest cost, but the least amount of frills and those kind of things. They still all have Disney transportation for free. Buses for the most part. A couple of them are on the Skyliner route. They have big pools, but not a lot going on there. No water slides or extras, but they do have cast members that will play pool games a couple hours every day, arts and crafts. They all have quick service restaurants, so no sit-down deluxe restaurants, but kind of quick grab-and-go stuff. If your vacation is one in which, one, you're budget conscious, or two, you're going to spend the majority, if not all of your time in parks, this is probably a great idea for you. It would remind you of, a typical hotel, motel, a couple beds, a bathroom. Everything's up to Disney standards, so it's nice, it's clean, it's safe. If there's issues, they will take care of it right away, but there's not a lot of frills. So if you're looking for a basic hotel room on Disney property without a lot of frills, these are great options. They get knocked a lot because they're the lowest level. That's the only reason they get knocked. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing bad about them. They're just the cheapest of the rack of Disney hotels you can choose from. And in essence, you get what you pay for. The majority of them have bus transportation only. People complain about all the time that you have to wait so long for buses. There's all these internal loops. Old Key West is the same way, but it's Disney transportation. It's free. You're going to get dropped off right at the door to wherever it is you're going, and you don't have to worry about driving or the stress of it. I love getting on the buses. It's 20 minutes. I can sit back and relax and not worry about anything because everything's taken care of for me. I don't get the knock on the bus transportation system at Disney. They do an absolutely phenomenal job of moving thousands and thousands of people around every day safely and efficiently. So the value level resorts are great if you're on a budget and or you're going to be spending most of your time in parks and you just want a great place to come back to, crash, grab some quick food on your way out, and get to your park the next day. There's nothing wrong with them. They're a fantastic option.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally, they're nicer than even mid-level hotels outside of the bubble of Disney. And yeah, the buses are great. I love taking the buses. And the bus drivers are also, cast members, and some of them are super funny and, make jokes and also enjoy life. Unlike most bus drivers in this country, they seem to be on it. So moving from the value
here's the way I look at the value level resorts too, real quick. Every Disney resort, you get the early entry hours now, so you get into every park a half hour early. And that doesn't seem like a lot.
Which is huge.
It's huge, but you combine that with the bus transportation, especially to like Magic Kingdom, where you get dropped off at the front of the resort rather than at the transportation ticket center. If you take a bus from a Bonnet Creek resort, or one of the outlying resorts, or a cab or an Uber, you're getting dropped off at the transportation and ticket center. So you've got to budget another 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the time of day, to actually get to the front gate of the Magic Kingdom. And the most, your currency at the Magic Kingdom is time. You have a certain amount of time you are allowed to be in that park. That is the most important part of what you're doing that day, is being in that park. So if you take 30 to 40 extra minutes just to get from the TTC into the park, that's 30 or 40 minutes you're not doing something else. So combining the early entry plus that lack of extra time for transportation, that can save you an hour to an hour and a half right off the bat and get you into the park with less crowds and much less stress, because you get on the bus at your resort, you get dropped off literally at the front gate to the Magic Kingdom, walk through security, and you're in. So yes, it's it's a value level resort, an all-star, a Pop Century, one of those resorts, and they get a bad rap, but the advantages that come with them are sometimes overlooked by people who haven't experienced this before to know how valuable extra time is.
Yeah, I think also there's just that degree of gatekeeping in the Disney sphere of people who are looking down on people who can't afford the lightning lanes or the additional perks. You got to make the trip work for your, what you can afford and how you can make it happen. And I mean, to even crap on these hotel rooms is hysterical.
Well, I know people that have stayed at those level resorts and they spend their money on a VIP tour at Magic Kingdom instead of staying at the Grand Floridian, which is a totally awesome, unbelievable experience I would love to have at some point. but it's insanely expensive. So, like I said, your budget is what it is. If you spend the majority of your budget on your hotel and that's what you're into, that's great, but it might not leave you as much money for some of the other things that make Disney equally as awesome. So, I would stay away from being hotel poor on a trip, because unless you're spending a ton of time at the pools and enjoying the
Yeah. All right. Let's now move on to moderates.
So moderates are obviously the middle level resort. Caribbean Beach sticks out. Those resorts are going to have better pools, maybe a little bit bigger rooms, maybe some extra transportation options. Like Caribbean Beach is on the Skyliner line, so it's got Skyliner plus bus transportation. There's not as many moderates as there are in the other two categories. Most moderates will have sit down or dining options and not just quick service. So, your moderates, I honestly don't fully understand that category. It's kind of splitting the baby in half. You have some of the things that a deluxe resort gets, but not everything. And you're more expensive than your value level resorts. So I think that's the category I would probably always stay away from the most, because you don't gain that much extra unless you really need a sit-down dining option and a water slide. That's really what you're gaining, especially now that the value resorts, some of them have extra transportation options. To me, blow your budget on a high-end resort, or keep all your money to do other cool things in the parks and stay at a value. I think the moderate level is kind of going to get phased out. I mean, Caribbean Beach is great. It's huge. It's a gigantic resort to walk around. It's fun. It's themed really well, but it's huge. Port Orleans Riverside, Port Orleans French Corner, those have just had major upgrades done. We love walking around those resorts. The theming there is, at those two resorts, is immersive and out of this world, but it doesn't kind of hit you over the head. When you're walking around Port Orleans Riverside, you feel like you're in the bayou. They've done such an amazing job there. And the dining options are on the good level. They're not great, but they're still awesome. You're still at Disney. You get all those perks, except for the high-end level stuff, and you don't get the extended evening hours. So you can sometimes get great deals at moderates if you look around carefully, because I think those are the rooms that go last for the reasons we just talked about. So you can sometimes steal a moderate level resort for a value level pricing if you pay attention to the promotions and things that are going on. And if you can do that, by all means do it. The rooms are a little bit bigger. Everything's just kind of one step up. It's like going from Chevy to GMC. Made in the same plant, made with mostly the same stuff, but better finishes at the end. A little bit comfier seats, a little bit more noise reduction. That's the difference from a value to a moderate. It's a little bit better. If you didn't know any better, you may not even notice it. But there may be perks that you really like that your family wants to take advantage of.
Did take the Skyliner and walk around the Caribbean Beach and Riviera and stuff. And I mean, it's just, if you're there and you need to, you're a runner, or you do want that downtime to just walk around and enjoy being, outside and able to safely check out resorts without any issues, not having to travel, it is pretty sweet. And the Caribbean Beach Resort also has like their different style rooms. It's more of sort of like a motel type of room.
Yep.
And so you're not in a giant tower like many of the other hotels. So there's probably some advantage to that. You're not hearing like elevator noise constantly and stuff. But
yeah, the biggest
it was super fun. It was cool.
Is the new tower at Coronado Springs. We hit on that last time we were there. It's a gorgeous building. It's moderate level pricing with high-end everything. The Coronado Springs Tower is just, it's incredible. The restaurant on the rooftop is gorgeous. The views from the top are incredible. That's another one of those. You can sneak into one of those rooms for probably value resort pricing once in a while, and you're getting very, very high-end stuff. So the moderate levels are there for a reason. They're certainly getting better, especially with the refurbs at Port Orleans. There's some advantages to them. If you can get yourself into one for a good price, you've done a great job, because you're going to have better amenities than a value resort. You're going to have probably some more transportation options, or at least some advantage that kind of puts it over the top. Better pool, better theming, better restaurants. There's something extra there you're getting for your money.
And now into the fancy stuff, the deluxe. This is not something, I think a lot of people think they can make work, but like everything, there are certainly times where these become suddenly like reasonable, and depending on what time of year you go and how busy they are, you might be able to swing a pretty good deal, but they're certainly at the high end. What is the advantage of the deluxe?
The advantage of the deluxe is you're staying at the best of the best. It's ultimate incredible Disney theming. You've got multiple transportation options for each resort. You've got high end, if not fine dining at each resort. I mean, just consider the three around the monorail loop: the Contemporary, the Polynesian, and the Grand Floridian. Each one of those is themed incredibly well. The Contemporary is the one that the monorail runs through. The Grand Concourse on level 7 is where the monorail comes in. There's a couple stores, there's restaurants. You could sit there for 3 or 4 hours, just hang out, have a snack, watch what's going on, and have a great day. The Grand Floridian is kind of the flagship. That is the highest of the high ends at Disney. It's extremely expensive. It just finished a 2-year renovation, but it's on the monorail loop, and they also just put in a sidewalk. You can walk from any of the monorail resorts to Magic Kingdom if you want to. The walk from the Contemporary takes about 3.5 minutes. And that doesn't sound like much, but at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, to not have to do anything other than walk out the front door of your resort to the Magic Kingdom. We did it once when we stayed at Bay Lake. It's incredible. It's so easy. It's so nice. It's one huge stress you don't have to deal with. You're getting huge rooms that are gorgeous, that are well kept. You're getting the best of what Disney has to offer. And I'm not talking about the DVC side of this yet. I'm just talking about the standard hotel rooms: Beach Club, Boardwalk, Yacht Club. Awesome. You can walk to Hollywood Studios. You can walk to Epcot. You can walk to the Skyliner from those. The entertainment on the boardwalk at night is what you'd picture, Jersey Shore, Wildwood, that kind of stuff, where there's entertainment out there. There's singers. There's people doing juggling acts. There's movies under the stars. And that's true at every Disney resort. Swan Dolphin, Swan Reserve, same thing. You're walkable to Hollywood Studios, to Epcot, to the boardwalk area. All of the pools at a deluxe have at least one, if not more, water slides. Some have zero entry. The pool at Beach Club and Yacht Club has a lazy river, has a sandy bottom. I mean, that's its own entity that requires a wristband to get into to prove you're staying there. It's so high end and awesome. But every deluxe resort has pools like that. And then they have multiple quiet pools. And then we'll get into DVC in a minute. But if you're really into having to stay at a deluxe resort and the budget allows it, do it. If not, consider a split stay. Stay somewhere cheaper the first couple nights, and then stay at a deluxe resort at the end of your trip, or flop it. But if you're going to do that, keep in mind that the nights you're at the deluxe resorts, you get the extended evening hours, which means if you stay at a deluxe resort on Wednesday night and Magic Kingdom closes to the general public at 11, you get to stay till 1 in the morning. And they monitor that by scanning your wristbands at different areas of the park and before you get on certain rides. But those extended evening hours, you can do 5 to 7 headline rides in 2 hours, no problem. And I mean with no wait. Last trip, we walked onto Pirates of the Caribbean at 1:45 in the morning. Literally nobody else in line. We rode the ride. As we were getting on the boat, the cast members were clapping for us. We got through the ride. They basically said, "Do you want to go again?" And we said, "Sure." They hit a button and the boat just kept going.
Nice.
And that's the kind of stuff with a deluxe resort you can do. And when you walk out of Magic Kingdom and there's nobody in front of you and nobody behind you, but it's still all lit up, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think, again, it's like you had stated earlier, like maybe this is your one and done trip. And yeah, it's going to be expensive, but like you're pulling out all the stops. And I mean, ultimately, your time is valuable, like you had stated. And if you're not getting the most out of your trip and you're not coming back, that's something you're going to regret. And you can do that, certainly again with the value resorts and stuff, but I think it can definitely be a huge, that's just like an experience, like, especially for your kids that, that's money. And I'm like not shilling for the Disney Corporation here, but that is like the best money spent. We've talked before about why we both became, these Disney heads, is that, our kids looked at us and said, like, this is the best day ever. And if you can find those ways to make that even more, magical,
There's that.
then you should if you can.
I mean, you hit it right. Time is your most important commodity on this trip. Once you're there and you've planned the trip and you pay for it, you've sunk thousands of dollars into this already. So I don't mean this to sound house, but once you're there, don't nickel and dime your trip. It's not worth it. Like if you're staying at a value resort and you're still worried about transportation and getting to the parks early so you can be there for a rope drop, shell out the $40 for a minivan. We've done that from Old Key West to Magic Kingdom a few times. It's $30 or $40. But a minivan is basically through the Lyft app. It's a Disney-run program. The Suburbans are wrapped with what looks like Minnie Mouse. It's a cast member that drives it. You get picked up at your door and dropped off at the door of what you're going to. So if you're going to Magic Kingdom with an Uber, you get dropped off at the TTC. If you're going in a minivan, you get dropped off at the front door. There is no walking. There's nothing else to do. To me, it's a no-brainer to spend that $40 rather than maybe worry about getting on the buses and not being there as early as you want to if you're the family like we are that wants to rope drop and be in right away and start doing stuff. So if you're staying at an all-star resort, because either that's what your budget allows or that's just how your trip unfolds, phenomenal. But think of some of those extra things you can spend a little bit of money on, because time is your most important aspect of your trip. Time in the parks, time at the pool, time doing what you want to do, not time doing other stuff. And it's not worth it, I don't think, once you're down there to think, oh geez, $40 for a minivan, is it really worth it? I'm telling you it is. And even if you're staying at a deluxe resort and you need to get somewhere quick and transportation's a problem, there are ways to get around that are not going to blow your budget, that's not going to hurt you at all. So the resort you stay at is important. And once you've looked at those categories, then you got to figure out budget. Okay, you've got your budget figured out. Do you want to do a split stay? Do you want to move around during your trip? And if you want to, it's easy. You get down to the lobby the morning you're leaving your first resort. You ask the bellhop, hey, can you hold the luggage, and then transfer it to, we're at the Grand Floridian now, we're moving to the beach club today. They will hold your luggage. They will transfer it. At some point by 3 or 4 in the afternoon, you'll get a text on the Disney app saying your luggage has been delivered to your new resort. You don't have to touch it. They do all of it. It's free.
Yeah.
It's great. We've done it every year. It's an incredible service. And that also works at the Swan and Dolphin and those resorts. So once you figured out your budget, plan out your trip. What days are you doing what parks? And maybe you want to be at a resort that's close to the parks you're going to, and then maybe you move. And maybe you want to be at the beach club the day you're going to Hollywood Studios because you know you're not going to last all day. You want to come back, have 3 or 4 hours at the pool. That's a 20-minute walk versus if you're at a Magic Kingdom area resort that day, you got to take a bus or maybe the monorail, depending on how you're moving your day around, to get back to your resort, and that's a couple hours. And again, time is your most important thing. Times that you could spend in the parks or doing what you want to do is far more important than anything else when you're there, because you're there for a finite amount of time, unless you're one of those lucky people that's got the annual pass and you're there every other day. So if this is the first trip or a once-in-a-lifetime trip, lay out your week, lay out your plan, and then plug in your resort based on your budget and the timing of how it's all going to work. And maybe it's the same resort all week. Maybe you move once, maybe you move twice. Cool perk about moving once or twice is every time you check into a new Disney resort, especially this summer, you get a free water park.
There are a couple wild cards, though, in the deluxe resort category. Animal Kingdom Lodge and Wilderness Lodge, which are not really adjacent. I mean, Animal Kingdom Lodge, I guess, close to Animal Kingdom, but to
Animal
get
Kingdom
to
Lodge is its own animal.
Yeah, you have to actually boo, no. To get to it is like a little bit of a hike. You have to actually transfer buses at one point if you're not staying in Animal Kingdom. And then Wilderness Lodge, to get to Magic Kingdom, you take a boat, which was awesome. We didn't stay at either of these, but we went to restaurants at both and just went to the Wilderness Lodge to check it out because I went there as a kid and it was like the coolest thing ever. And it still is the coolest thing ever. And our kids roasted marshmallows for free, which is
you're totally right about those. So Wilderness Lodge is a Magic Kingdom area resort, but it's not on the monorail loop. It's kind of through Bay, on the other side of the Contemporary across Bay Lake. And if you keep going farther across the lake is the new Lakeshore Lodge that's going to open next year that looks awesome. So it's close to Magic Kingdom. You're right about being able to take a boat over. It's certainly not walkable. I believe they also have buses, especially during inclement weather. But that's one of those resorts. It's a deluxe resort. You could stay at that resort for a couple days and never leave. It's so awesome. Same thing with Animal Kingdom Lodge. I mean, Animal Kingdom Lodge is its own beast. Again, that pun intended. But Animal Kingdom Lodge, you can sit and watch the animals out on the savannah all day. You can even go as a guest and just do that. You don't have to be staying there. Animal Kingdom Lodge has some of, if not the best restaurants on property and multiple of those. And it's a huge property to walk around. But that one is a deluxe resort. It's bus only because of where it is. It's obviously closest to Animal Kingdom. But even the resorts like that are bus only that people think, oh, geez, it's so long to Magic Kingdom. It's really not. Once you're on the bus, it's 20 minutes, 25 minutes at the most. We've done it from Old Key West to every resort. Old Key West is a Disney Springs area resort that's kind of out there a little bit. The busing is easy. So we should probably talk about the DVC resorts now, huh?
Yeah, I mean, those are definitely. Are they separate resorts? Or are they like special components of resorts? I actually don't really know anything about this other than they constantly ask you, "Are you a Disney Vacation Club?"
Right. So DVC person? Is Disney Vacation Club. It's the original kind of nomenclature for the Disney timeshare. Old Key West was the first Disney Vacation Club resort, and what that meant was like a timeshare. You'd own a timeshare. You could use your timeshare. They call them points to book rooms at certain points of the year. That has evolved now into there are multiple DVC clubs or DVC rooms at the deluxe resorts. Old Key West and Saratoga, I believe, are DVC only, which means all the rooms are Disney Vacation Club. Anybody can book those. You can go on the Disney World website and book a room and pay rack rate if you want to. You'd be crazy to do that. We'll get into that in another episode as far as how you can buy somebody else's points to make your trip much cheaper. But the DVC, you can get a studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and some have 3 bedroom gigantic rooms. And you can sleep 10 to 12 people in some of these big rooms. So if you're going with another family and you split the cost, it is well worth it. DVC rooms, which is what we stay in at Old Key West, are awesome. If you get anything bigger than a studio, you get a full-size kitchen and full-size laundry in your room. So it makes your life way easier for the week to be able to do all your own laundry in your room. And we always get groceries delivered, and we do breakfast and sometimes lunch in the room because it's so much easier with a full-size everything to cook on. You get a patio or a veranda, depending on what floor you're staying at, and you just get bigger, better everything. DVC is a great way to go if you can afford it. So at like Boardwalk and Beach Club, those two hotels have regular hotel rooms and they have DVC rooms. They're usually in different wings, different locations, but it's within the same hotel. You're all staying at the same hotel. You wouldn't know anybody or yourself different walking around if you're DVC or a regular room, except for the wing of the hotel you're going to. But I think most of, if not all, the deluxe resorts have regular rooms plus DVC part of it, except for the Yacht Club, Old Key West, and Saratoga, which are DVC only. And that really is not a big difference as far as how you book. It's just kind of keep that in mind.
So you've got also like these villas and bungalows, which are like essentially entire apartments, right? Like as you're kind of floating along towards the Wilderness Lodge, you can see them. They're on the actual lake there and stuff. Insanely expensive. However, they can hold a lot of people. So like if you're like going as a large group, you're doing like a bachelor party or something, and you can swing that, it actually becomes like not reasonable, I would say, but like not so outrageously expensive that it is, completely out of reach for everyone. But it's a different experience for sure. And the travel, just the process of, you've got something totally separate from everyone else. So it's likely a little bit quieter and, like you said, more high amenity.
And if you're going for a week and you want to be able to do your laundry and cook and save some money that way, that certainly makes life easier. Like for us to have to fly every time we go, packing is a lot easier knowing I only need 2 or 3 days worth of stuff because I can do laundry. You can get things delivered to your room, bagels, cereal, milk, all that kind of stuff. Amazon delivery, Kroger, any of the Instacart, any of those things can deliver right to your resort. The concierge will hold the cold stuff in the fridge so you get back, then you take it to your room. It couldn't be any easier. And for a lot of families, having that extra space, we do a 2-bedroom at Old Key West. That extra space over 7 days really helps everybody's nerves and enjoyment. And we do spend some time at the resort. We love Old Key West. We love just spending days there, hanging out at the pool, going to Olivia's. Addison fell in love with this key lime pie dessert they had, which she's tried to recreate since we've been home, and that haven't found a lot of luck with that. But we kind of have this home resort feel now that the kids love Old Key West. And, when they say to you and you get their welcome home, at first it sounds cheesy, but then you kind of like, this does feel homey. It's familiar. Last time we stayed near where the main pool was, the day after Magic Kingdom, Addison was still in bed at 10 o'clock. We left her a note and said, meet us at the pool. I wouldn't do that with my 12-year-old daughter at virtually any other place that we go to vacation. But you feel so comfortable there. It's so easy. It's so safe that we had no problem doing it. And it's little things like that make the vacation that much better and easier and more fun. And just that comfort feeling of you're totally relaxed. You don't need to worry about extra things. You don't need to worry about safety and security. You're just there. You're happy. And I also knew if for some reason she got lost getting to the pool or had an issue, she could either call us from her watch or find any cast member and say, hey, can you help me? And they would probably take her by the hand and walk her to exactly where she needs to go with a smile and then give her a sticker afterwards. That's what you expect to get out of a Disney trip that you don't get everywhere else.
Yeah, and one other thing you made a comment about you've turned your house into a resort is that each of the resorts have their own smells and like snacks and foods. So it actually, it's not like you go to each resort and they have nothing but like the Disney pretzels and, churros. It's each one has its own unique scent and theming. And so it does actually matter to, where you're going to go. And then Matt has gone so far as to fill his house with the, what's the candle? Is it Magic Candles or something?
Magic Candle Company. Yeah,
We're looking for sponsors. We need sponsors. Please send us stuff because my wife went and bought a bunch of the scents.
And it's amazing. Like the scents, we have the wax melts in the house going sometimes. They nail the scents of the lobbies. And it sounds ridiculous, but you walk into the Boardwalk or Old Key West or the Contemporary, the smell hits you right away. And it's however they do it, it's an amazing, awesome experience. And to have that in our own house is cool. But Zach's right about the theming for the food. Like at Old Key West, the restaurant at the main pool, it's themed to like conch style stuff. Cuban sandwiches, key lime pie, everything, conch fritters. The theme for the food matches the vibe of the resort in just about every resort, which makes it that much more immersive. And Addison said to me the other day, do you think we love Old Key West so much because it reminds us of our summer trip to the Jersey Shore and the beach every year? I said, I hadn't thought about that, but you're probably right. Like we do that every year. We sit on the beach. Old Key West has that beachy, laid back, tropical vibe with food that makes sense, with scents that make sense for that resort. Everything is just themed so well. I think the immersiveness is what really makes it awesome. And you get that at every resort, even down to your value resorts. They are themed to what they are. They make everything in that resort make sense to whatever the resort is. So you don't lose any of that based on where you stay. Disney World has over 30 different lodging types available, including the Swan Dolphin and the campsites at Wilderness Lodge. And that's a whole other thing we can get into. There's the Disney Springs Resort.
Oh, there's also Fort Wilderness, which is camping.
Right, which is legit.
You can camp at Disney.
Pull your camper up, camp in a tent, but you're doing it at Disney. You still have all the perks, and that's a deluxe resort. You have all the perks of a deluxe resort in your tow-behind camper or your fifth wheel, whatever it is you want to do. And then I think you can rent a golf cart to get around the campsites. There's so much that you can do at Disney World that I don't think people know of. But I think your resort is the most important choice you're going to make for your week. So spend as much time as you can figuring that out. Feel free to email me or email us with questions or ask us on Facebook. My family has stayed at Polynesian, Bay Lake, at the Contemporary, Old Key West, the Beach Club, and the Dolphin. So we've experienced 5 resorts. We've experienced all of them walking around, checking out the lobbies. We've tried to eat at every resort. There's a lot I can answer for you. If you have questions about either transportation or what should I do here, would you recommend this? And I'm more than happy to do it because especially the resort choice is so vital to the success or not of your trip. There's not a bad choice to make. You just need to go into it with eyes wide open as far as what resort you're staying at and things you need to get ahead of before your trip to make sure you don't experience any of the little hiccups that could derail you.
Yep. And then I've stayed at Shades of Green, which is the Armed Forces Recreation Center. It's military only, so retiree or active or guard. It is a little bit more of a hike. You have to take the bus to get to the transportation center and ticket center, or, depending, some resorts, it'll take you directly there. But it is one of those adjacent properties, but it's a huge value. If you're a retired military member or you're currently serving, you can save a lot of money. I would say it kind of comes in at the value cost, but it's a full resort. That's where actually all the golf courses is at the Shades of Green. That's where the foot golf, the soccer golf game is.
It's kind of on the other side of the road from the Polynesian. So
yeah, you used to be able to walk across the street. Now you can't because they're turning that into a major highway. So it's a little bit more of a hike, but certainly if you have that option, we're like you guys, we get up at the 0 dark 30 to get there for rope drop and early entry, and then we are staying until they kick us out of the resort, out of the park. So it's a great option if you're there. But yeah, that's a lot of information. 34 minutes. You're probably gonna have to re-listen to this multiple times to actually catch all of the great info that Matt has shared. And Magic Candle Company, please sponsor us because we have so many of the scents now in our house.
And I could talk about Disney resorts all day. We'll probably break this down into different categories or at least different areas of the parks or of Disney World to discuss at some point because there's a lot. This is just a very high level view of.
Yes.
This is more deciding what category you want to stay in and what location. And then, we can do a deep dive maybe next week into if you've chosen, an Epcot area resort, which one would you like to stay at? Perks to those. So we'll talk about that for next podcast.
We also have to talk food because Sana's bread service is still something I dream of every day and, miss greatly.
So to wrap this up, I just want to say we are recording this on Memorial Day. Zach is in the military. Thankful that he is obviously still with us. But to all the families who have lost a loved one, thank you for that. Thank you for your sacrifice and service. We know it's not easy. It's what makes this country as great as it still remains to be. I don't want to say happy Memorial Day, but I think it's more respectful Memorial Day to everybody. All of our flags are out. Even though it's rainy in the Northeast, we still, as patriotic as possible today and every day, hopefully.
That is well said. And yes, to all of my fallen brothers and sisters, you are not forgotten. And I appreciate every ounce of service that people put into this country, whether you're in the military or just doing good things in your neighborhood. And on that note, yep, we're going to go return to our Memorial Day, and stay tuned for the next episode next week. And we will get into food, which is one of Matt's favorite parts of Disney, and
no doubt
has saved us so much time finding amazing restaurants. So, all right, Matt, we'll talk soon.
Sounds good, everybody.